This story was sent to us by a mother-in-law who gave a proper education to her daughter-in-law, who was disrespectful to her in-laws. Let's take a look together. Please subscribe and like our channel.
Hello. I am a grandmother in my mid-60s. I am not sure if all daughters-in-law these days are like this. So I wanted to hear what younger people think, and hence, I am writing this. I wonder if my daughter and I have been behaving as those typical monster-in-laws people often talk about. I also want to ask if my husband and I have been too harsh on our son and daughter-in-law. We raised a son and a daughter. My in-laws passed away early, so I never experienced the life of a daughter-in-law. I just lived my life raising our children, feeding them good food, and dressing them in nice clothes with the money my husband earned from working hard. When our older son was 30, he brought home a woman he wanted to marry. We didn't scrutinize her, but let them get married because they loved each other. Her family was not well off, so we provided them with a house and didn't ask for any dowry. We also furnished their house with all the essentials. The house they live in is the one we leased out, but we asked the tenant to leave so that our son and his wife could live there. After their marriage, we just let them live their lives without interfering much. I've heard that nowadays, marriage is supposed to be equal for both men and women, and there is no such thing as living with the in-laws. But we didn't want to see our son struggling, so we did our best. Even when our daughter-in-law expressed dissatisfaction with our son, we always sided with her. Our son is the sole breadwinner, but she always complained in front of us that my husband didn't help much with housework. We felt uncomfortable hearing her complain about her hardworking husband, but we never expressed our feelings. We've barely visited our son's house as it's considered rude these days. Even though we miss our adorable grandchildren, we couldn't ask our son and daughter-in-law to bring them over. We were told by others to treat our married son as a guest, and so we did. But now, I regret not speaking up more. Our daughter is still unmarried and lives with us. One day, she came home and told us that she had been treated rudely at her brother's house, and couldn't even see her nephews. Both our son's family and our daughter enjoy camping on weekends. Our daughter likes to go camping alone, but as far as I know, our son's family enjoys camping together. According to our daughter, her brother called her to borrow her tent for camping. So, she took the tent to her brother's house and contacted him, but he told her to contact his wife instead. My daughter went to her brother's house with the tent, assuming that my daughter-in-law would be home since they have young children. There were lights on in their house, and she heard my eldest grandchild shout, "Aunt is here." But they did not open the door even after waiting for a while. So my daughter called her sister-in-law, but she didn't answer the phone or respond to text messages. My daughter left the tent at the guardhouse after waiting for a while, and calling out for her nephew and knocking on the door with no response from inside. On her way home, my daughter finally got in touch with her sister-in-law. She said she didn't open the door because she didn't think that my daughter would try to come in, and expected her to leave the tent at the guardhouse. My daughter argued, "How could you not open the door when I came to deliver the tent that you asked me to lend?" But her sister-in-law simply replied, "Well, if we start letting in-laws come and go as they please, there will be no end to it." My daughter then cried in front of my husband and me, saying she didn't want to see her brother and sister-in-law ever again, but she missed her nephews. My husband was so angry that he said he would sell the house where my son and his wife were living and kick them out. After my daughter calmed down and went to her room, I told my husband that we should also listen to my daughter-in-law's side of the story. So, I called my son and asked him to come over with his wife for the weekend. My daughter said she would go out when they came, but my husband told her to stay. When my son and his wife came, we discussed what my daughter had told us. I really thought my daughter-in-law would say that it was a misunderstanding, or that she was wrong. But she said that she was angry that her in-laws were trying to come and go from her house without even contacting her. She also said that she was even angrier because my daughter's lack of manners was not good for the children's education. Upon hearing my daughter-in-law's words, I was speechless. I thought my son would say something sensible when his wife was talking like this. But he just kept quiet. I asked my daughter-in-law, "Are you referring to your parents-in-law and sister-in-law when you say in-laws?" She said yes. I asked her, "Do you think it's right to say that when your sister-in-law came to deliver something you needed?" She stared at me defiantly and said, "Are you taking her side just because she's your daughter?" My husband couldn't stand it any longer and said, "If you want to live the way you want, move out. That house was given by us, so we'll put it up for sale tomorrow. You should start looking for a new place to live." My husband told our son that we must have raised him wrongly. We gave them a house to make their life comfortable. But we never thought they would turn out this way. He told our son to get his family out of our house immediately, as he was no longer considered our son. Only then did my son beg for our forgiveness. My daughter-in-law looked surprised. I also told my daughter-in-law that we never said anything to them before, and because of that, they have been taking us for granted. We have done everything for them, but all we get in return is disrespect. We would stop doing things for them, and also take back what we gave them. Only then did my daughter-in-law cry and apologize. I didn't believe that such an insolent child was truly sorry. We told them to get out of our house immediately, and also to vacate the house they were living in since it was also our property. After they left, my husband really put the house they were living in up for sale the next day. I was surprised when he told me he had done so. I asked if he was really going to kick them out of that house too. When he said yes, I persuaded him for several days to think about our young grandchildren. After a few days, my husband said that even if we don't sell the house, my daughter-in-law needs to hear a few times that people are coming to see the house. I was relieved to hear that. People called my daughter-in-law several times to say they were coming to see the house. Every weekend, they come to apologize. My husband told us not to open the door, but my daughter always let them in. I don't know if this incident will finally make my son and his wife grow up. We have decided to live as if we don't have a son and daughter-in-law. If they behave thoughtlessly again after this incident, we can't take away the house in the middle of winter. Thinking about our grandchildren. When children are young, parents can educate them. But how can we educate children who are already grown up and married? We don't know what will happen in the future, but we plan to live with an open mind. There may be people who say that my husband and I are too harsh, but we are thinking of giving up on our son and daughter-in-law after trying everything we can.
While disrespectful mothers-in-law are a problem, it seems like there have also been quite a few disrespectful daughters-in-law in the past. What are your thoughts on this story?